Can I tell you something? Getting to 23% body fat wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Now, if you had asked me years ago, I would have surely told you that the secret was the perfect diet, the right workout, and a boatload of willpower. Something along the lines of you needed to have white knuckle kind of discipline every single day. But nah, it actually turns out it was none of that. For me, lowering my body fat percentage, fitting into my clothes without having to hold my breath, and feeling comfortable and at home in my own skin came down to 4 questions I started asking myself every day, and one toxic question I had to stop because it was tearing me apart. Let me take you back for a second. Picture this, 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm standing in the kitchen, hiding behind the cabinet, sneaking snacks. Spoon after spoon, I'm shoveling almond butter into my mouth. I don't even think I remember to breathe between shovels. That became my secret shameful habit. And every time I did it, I felt smaller, more out of control, and hopeless. At some point, I think I convinced myself that the way my body was just how it was going to be, that it was expected. I mean, after all, I'm in my 40s, right? Those things were just going to happen. The waistline was going to expand. My face was going to get rounder. Things were just going to grow. It was a natural course, natural phase of life, right? So I told myself the weight was supposed to be there. It was inevitable. It was part of the plan of life. That's what I told myself. And worst of all, that thinking had me in a place where I believed it. And so I felt there was really nothing I can do about it. Don't do anything about it. Just let it be. I cannot pinpoint the exact moment the shift happened because obviously it happened. I went from being very overweight to 23% body fat. Because when I think back over all the things, there were a lot of little epiphanies happening all at once, like just coming in. But I do recall eventually taking a deep breath. And I decided to pull together all of the therapeutic tools I have used for years for so many others. I decided to use all of those things for myself. And that's when the question started. This first question flipped everything for me. Here it is. What story am I telling myself right now? Listen, I swore up and down that I wasn't telling myself any stories. I was just keeping it real. You know the drill. It's my metabolism. It's my age. It's my body type. But the truth, in hindsight, is that all of those were just pretty little excuses dressed up as facts. My story, it went a little something like this. I don't have time. I've tried everything. I really have. Dr. Oz diet, the carnivore, paleo, keto, intermittent fasting, SCD. I've tried all of them. None of them worked. And the biggest one was thick thighs and big breasts. That runs in my family. So, sounds familiar? Here's the thing about stories though. If we repeat them long enough, they start to sound like facts. Once I grabbed hold of that, I remembered that stories are just thoughts. And thoughts, they can change. That question, what story am I telling myself right now, made me get real with myself and take off the hat of delusion. Was I really busy or was I hiding behind busy because the thought of doing something different felt overwhelming? Was my metabolism actually that slow or was I still eating like I did in my 20s, expecting no consequences, and it was showing? A harsh truth, a needed truth, and actually kind of freeing. So humor me if you will. Grab something, a piece of paper, the notes app on your phone, and simply write down what story are you telling yourself about why you can't lose the weight. Don't edit it, don't sugarcoat it. Just write down the whole dramatic raw version. Because once I finally saw my story in black and white, that did something. And that's what led me straight to the next question. The next question I had to start asking myself was, what does my body actually need? Notice I didn't say, is this food good or bad? Because that little game, that had me stuck in a nasty cycle for years. I'd be good all week. The next, I was hiding behind the cabinet, shoveling spoonfuls of almond butter in my mouth. Asking myself, what does my body actually need? That was very critical. That required me to move past what my mouth wanted, what my stress was screaming for, and what my emotions were begging me to numb. That tiny pause between the cravings and the action gave me space to ask, is this choice moving me closer towards the woman I want to be or further away from her? And let me tell you, That pause was humbling because I realized something. I realized I had been setting myself up to fail. I was going out, bringing home my temptation, putting it in the pantry, and then acting all shocked and surprised when I craved it, when I fell down that hole. Once that clicked, I made some decisions. I made the decision to become someone who plans for success. I am someone who makes decisions from a place of strength. I am someone who believes she deserves to feel good in her own skin. And the freedom that came from that one question, I didn't know it was possible. Because the thing is, over 40 or over 50 like me, our bodies aren't as forgiving as they used to be in our 20s and 30s. Our bodies want and need premium fuel, regular maintenance, and for us to pay attention. Because somewhere along the line, I stopped listening. I don't know about you. I confused thirst for hunger, fatigue for cravings, and stress for I just need something sweet right now for far too long. And it showed. So yeah, I started asking myself that question at every meal, every snack, before every cabinet raid. And sometimes the answer was protein. Sometimes it was a walk. Sometimes it was a hug or a little something else. But that question is how I got reconnected with myself in a way no diet ever did. Third question that saved me, especially at night, was how do I want to feel tomorrow? Because at 9:30, a big old bowl of chips, ice cream, a whole sleeve of cookies if we're being real, that sounds good. I'm tired, my couch is super cozy, and I have shows waiting to be watched. And each time I indulge, I craved more. My sleep was a little off. And tomorrow came. Too many mornings waking up puffy, bloated, and none of my clothes fitting to my satisfaction. So, during my late night escapades, I started asking myself, Tracy, how do you want to feel tomorrow? Do you want to wake up dragging and regretting last night's choices? Or do I want to wake up already one step ahead, feeling clear, light, and pleased with myself? You know, I once heard speaker John Maxwell say something that really stuck with me. He said, we spend our day either preparing in such a way that tomorrow's going to be a lot better, or we spend our day repairing, trying to fix today what we did wrong yesterday. My late night snacking had me living in repair mode. And if I truly wanted to be the woman who set herself up for success, then I had to stop sabotaging myself for 5 minutes of comfort. The last question I started asking myself was, what can I do today that my future self will thank me for? Because if you've ever struggled with willpower, with sticking to anything, falling into the start-stop cycle, this question is like a bridge out of that. For me, it looked like simple stuff. Preparing my meals instead of just hoping I'd make good choices. Blocking out 20 to 30 minutes on my calendar to work out. Writing down my exercises so that I couldn't play the I don't know what to do card. Because it's there. And sometimes it was as simple as, Tracy, girl, go take your behind to bed. And you know, the more I practiced this, the more I started to make decisions from a place of self-care. And then I realized I wasn't eating better because I hated how I looked. I was eating better because I wanted my future self, my tomorrow me, my next week me, to feel strong, clear, and comfortable in her skin. Now when I wake up, I realize that I am living inside the life I only used to dream about. But wait, I've shared the 4 questions that kind of carried me in the beginning. But let me be honest, there's one question I had to completely stop asking. And that was, why is this so hard? Or its evil twin, why can't I stick to anything? That question unraveled me more times than I can count. Because the moment I asked that question, I was already assuming something was wrong with me, that I just didn't have what it took. And once you go down that shame spiral, that ride zooms fast and rarely ends well. So instead of, why can't I stick to anything? I started asking, what made this approach unsustainable for me? What can I learn from it? And how can I tweak this so that it can work better for my actual real life? That was the mental hug that I needed, because suddenly my past was no longer evidence that I was doomed to fail. It was just information, feedback to help me ask better questions next time. And mind you, I didn't do a complete 180 overnight. I had bumps, bruises, plenty of late night snack sessions before this version of me showed up. What I know now is that every failure is an opportunity for me to ask myself better questions. Because if I can learn that in my 40s and 50s, after years of struggles and false stories that felt so real, I believe it's not too late for you.